Welcome to the energetic weather conditions for September 2024. I am going to reflect on these energies, these subtle energies that we can all feel but hardly put a finger on. So this is supposed to assist us in understanding ourselves better. In all these years of doing this, of giving these energetic analyses over the years, I found that the most helpful thing is probably knowing that you are not alone. I notice that many of us are very, very eager to know what's ahead, and then we kind of forget. Therefore, you will find the energy counter on my website. That's a day-to-day color-coded sort of reflection on what this energy is. And here too at the end we're going to look at the important dates for September 2024. With this forecast also comes an energy alignment. This month the alignment is helping to activate and strengthen courage within ourselves. The reason why we want to look into collective energies, I like calling them weather conditions because they sort of set the stage, they create the context, they create the terrain that we will have to deal with. And when we understand what the weather conditions are, then it is much easier for us to accept why certain things will be more in the foreground or more illuminated at a certain time, and grasp better that now it's time to deal with this. Now that this is illuminated, that this is revealing itself, for me or for the collective, is the time to deal with it. Does that make sense? Yeah, so there's something about divine timing that we need to go with. There will be certain layers that will become aware to you at certain times. Take your inner child or take karmic stuff. Last month, well, for the last 2 months really, we've been working on karmic stuff. And, there's many things that you may have become aware of, a decade or 2 decades ago. But there are new aspects to it, as we progress. So whenever our consciousness increases, our perception changes, and we begin to see more. This doesn't really need to be discouraging. It doesn't mean that, oh my God, this is never ending. What it means is that it's a constant evolution, and it's good so. That makes it interesting. This is where creation and co-creation occurs. So to remind ourselves, that things always change, and that is a good thing. Okay? Yeah? Our ego doesn't like change. We all know why. Because it likes things to be the same. It likes comfort zone. It likes, sort of knowing what's ahead. So the resistance that we feel within comes from, sort of unconsciously resisting change. Which, by the way, will be very relevant, this contemplation about how open am I to change, and what is it actually that has to change, and does it even make sense? Is it even worth it? Is part of the theme here for September. There's a trust that is needed, and trust in our true self, but also in higher power altogether. It's really the trust in evolution itself. That even if things feel uncomfortable, they are leading us toward growth. Unless we resist them. So everything in nature, that The divine nature of everything is to grow, refine, purify, etc. And struggle always occurs when our ego tries to go against that. Now, we have a free will, and we can't. We can't. But latest when we feel that our life is a struggle and that nothing's working, or, that it's so hard, these kind of notions, we need to stop, relax, zoom out, and ask ourselves, wait, this can't be. I trust that everything has a purpose and is aligned to betterment. So why don't I just go with it? Even if it's just for an experiment. For me, it's always worth an experiment. Yeah, to say, okay, this is a new thought, this is a new idea that maybe others brought up or whatever. It's not really anything I would have come up with. My ego might be saying, no. But I'm like, okay, just for the sake of staying open and flexible, I'll give it a little bit of space. Yeah. So trust has a lot to do with giving things space, and especially when it comes to performance stuff, relationships, and issues around sort of self-worth and self-belief. It's very important that we allow room for error. Room for error. Because that helps us to lose the fear of making mistakes. In the cosmos, there are no mistakes. Yeah. So what our ego might regard as a mistake or as a failure, okay, is nothing but another stepping stone to its success. And that's why, pretty much all spiritual teachings say this in similar ways. We should embrace new experiences and give it some room. Yep. We, of course, also have to learn to set boundaries. So if we're too open for things that are coming in from the outside, then we can run into danger of losing ourselves on the outside. Yeah. So we have to kind of always find the middle ground, always sort of stand in our center and ask ourselves, does this work for me? Is this worth it? Is this reciprocal? Yeah, does this make sense? Is this efficient? Those kind of contemplations and self-reflective questions will come in very handy this month. Yeah, so you'll see the word efficiency here in some of my interpretations. And even though that sounds a little bit like a conceptual thing, it's not, because you can actually feel if something is efficient or not. And it has to do with what we focus on or what we allow to become a priority. So when I'm talking about efficiency, or when I say this to you in your reading, then keep in mind what I'm actually referring to is whether it's cohesive, whether it's in coherence with you. Okay? Yeah, because every time something becomes misaligned, it becomes inefficient. Now, this doesn't mean that it has to be easy. It doesn't mean that it has to go fast. The ego interprets it this way. Ego likes shortcuts, and, it doesn't really want to work for things. So it interprets, being in the flow, as something good. But sometimes being in the flow can also be, can also pull you out of your center too much. Yeah, so we can get so immersed in things that are coming in and new ideas that we want to follow through on, only to find out that in the bigger picture, they're really not that important. So efficiency has to do with reality check, has to do with asking ourselves how much energy we are giving something and whether it's worth it. Yeah. The typical example here is also like jobs that people make, like we do jobs so that we can earn money so that we can pay bills. But if the job that we're doing is so draining for us emotionally or physically or spiritually that we are unable to enjoy life, that we're unable to live life, that's not efficient from an energy management standpoint. So efficiency here, not measured by outer standards, but measured by your very own inner standard of what feels energetically neutral, what feels energetically conducive. Yeah, because as soon as something feels non-conducive, you need to pay attention. You need to wake up because you're doing something that is potentially, accumulating more toxins or harming you more than it does good. And that's when you need to become a nitpicker. That's when you need to look at, wait a minute, what's the energy balance here? And maybe I need to shift a few things. And sometimes it's very small shifts. Sometimes it's not even a big shift. You don't have to quit your job or leave your partner. You just, need to speak something out loud or, need to be more honest or more vulnerable. And that can change everything. Much more than in August. In September, you will be pushed to your limits because it keeps going back and forth. Okay, so this is what I just said about efficiency will really hit you because you're like, what the heck? What am I even doing here? Okay, in August, we were just sort of trying to catch up with the flood of information, with the flood of outer things happening. Okay, now we realize, okay, this keeps going. Okay, so what's the point? Yeah, especially when you look at news and media, I mean, everybody's already forgotten about this or that happened last week or 2 weeks ago. So in September, we're going to have to be a little more focused on our own center because it's not as much and not as intense, which gives us a little bit more room to breathe. And if we actually take this room and convert it into slowing down and giving ourselves a little bit of a break, like I said earlier, to relax, zoom out and look at the bigger perspective, then we will see that a lot of things aren't even worth your attention. Okay? So constant back and forth, guys, that's on the inside as well as the outside. That's the new sort of variation of those energetic weather conditions, like April weather, where you have all weather, maybe sometimes on one day. So the energy in September is a little different in that regard. So I'm going to deal with it as it arises. Is still, something that we should do for efficiency's sake, but there is a new impulse, a new activation. You can see this here, the sword of truth. It's also aligned to these Archangel Michael energies. I wrote another article about this because September also has an important significance here in regard to these Michael energies. Yeah? So September 29th is or used to be the St. Michael's Mass. Yeah? So just like how we have December 24th, the Christ Mass. Okay? This is something that we want to bring back into our awareness. Yeah, that there's a seasonal shift, just like how we observe this during solstices. Yeah, where there is sort of a shift of the guards during the equinoxes, which is also happening in September around that time, where we have the same amount of light and the same amount of dark. And there is a point where we have a little bit more darkness. Yeah, there's darkness in light. Then there's a standstill, and then there's more light coming back into darkness, or the darkness gets driven out. Okay, and that is what this Michael energy or Michael energy represents, because it has the power to drive out darkness. Just here as a reminder, also for those of you who are interested in spiritual sciences and Christian esotericism, Christianity is the only of the religious traditions that actually acknowledges darkness and teaches how to discern it. This is a really, really important differentiation. Okay, so with the arrival of the Christ, we have also been basically provided with the sword of truth, which stands for the ability to discern truth, the ability to discern light from dark. Now, this is the tool that we need in our, spiritual self-responsibility, as we are now, able to form our own spiritual identity. We don't need to be on the spoon of feeding tube of the spiritual. We can, the higher forces, we are able to claim our own soul identity. You guys already know this, and for that you need tools, and one of these tools is the sword of truth, the ability to discern dark from light and truth from untruth, love from unlove, and freedom from unfreedom. All right, so there will be a special event starting this year. I'm going to do this every year on September 29th. Similar to the True Self session, an energy session with a special alignment and prayer, and a brief discussion right after. Just real quick here, you can read the transcript for the energy forecast for September on my website, titled Navigating the War of Perception. As we step into September 24 energies, the energetic weather conditions emphasize the vital importance of aligning our intentions with truth and courage. This month represents a significant opportunity for self-reflection and spiritual growth, particularly in the face of ego-driven fears and insecurities. September is a time of testing our resolve to stay conscious and to follow through with our good intentions. The outer themes in September are reminiscent of the end of 2020. Remember the end of 2020. That was right, the first year of the pandemic. No vaccines available yet. Continued power struggles, heavy media manipulation, natural disasters, elevated fears of inflation, and never-ending unveiling of truths that are hidden in plain sight. Our focus on survival and security has intensified this year, putting us at risk of losing touch with our core values, integrity, and authenticity. I'm not going to read further, but you already hear that there's a warning here. Okay, so we shouldn't really be paying too much attention to the outer power struggles, as they will and have to continue. We should rather turn inward and make sure that we don't get caught in our inner power struggles. Yeah, so we have to keep an eye on our values, our integrity and especially our authenticity. It's really important now that we follow through with our intentions. And in esotericism, especially in anthroposophy, that's called will, mastering our will. Okay? What does this mean in the practical? It means that we're going to have to take a very, very close look at our output. You know, what we bring into this world and how we treat ourselves and others. Yeah? Are there maybe some things on the physical level that we need to change, where we have to step into more self-care and self-love with our body perhaps, or with our time? Do we have to improve on our time management? Are we overcommitting? Are we constantly getting pulled into other people's dramas? Stuff like that. Remember, I called it deficiency earlier. That's the nature of the month of September. You really want to go and, you know, have a good sort of self-reflective talking with yourself. You know, is this really good for you? Is this really what you want? Is this really what you intend to do? Yeah, is the way you are showing up really who you are? Yeah, that's why you will find the word authenticity a lot here in this forecast. Okay, so the darkening of the light is experienced as tiring for our energy bodies and will have to be addressed through establishing healthier routines. Our task will be to choose what brings freedom, growth, and healing into our lives, and to find the courage to choose and trust in the power of light within us. And there's, of course, more about this, and a bunch of articles that will be published that you here can already see. I want to point this out as the sort of the mantra for this month: choose your reality. I can choose to let it define me, confine me, control me, outshine me. Or I can choose to move on, leave it behind me, and let it refine me. Okay? So choose your reality carefully, and you guys are all aware that every thought, every sentiment, every word, every action, every notion in you create an energetic reality, a spiritual process that then, as a consequence, brings about a physical manifestation. Yeah? So that said, doesn't mean that it's all your fault, you know, your struggle, but you have to keep a very close eye on your reality, how you perceive it, and how, you know, you are contributing with your notions and emotions and, yeah, you know, pessimism or optimism. Yeah? So that's just in a super brief nutshell here. There's more. We want to always look for the third option. It's coded in to the alignment this month. Just because you can't see a better future doesn't mean there is none. How can we train ourselves, you know, to not fall into pessimism, to not fall into powerlessness and despair? Well, by reassuring ourselves that just because we can't see something at the moment doesn't mean it's not there. It's just like on a cloudy day or in the middle of the night, just because you can't see the sun or sunlight doesn't mean there is no sun. It just means that it's either obstructed or it's just not the time for it. And we can do either you know, sort of strategy to better deal with this. We can either say, okay, I'm just going to wait this out, okay, until it's a better time for something, or you can reassure yourself that, you know, just because you can't see the light at the end of a tunnel, you know, doesn't mean that there is no way, there is no other option. So most of us get pulled into, it's either this or that. It's either yes or no, or black or white, or wonderful and disastrous. Okay? So the way to train yourself to be able to center a little better and stay more neutral is to remind yourself that there's always at least one more option. Yeah, so it's basically the technique to train yourself away from your ego's duality. Okay, there's always at least a third option. A lot of times, as soon as you remind yourselves that there might be, other ways that you can't see yet, and you look for that third option, it's described here in this article, 4, 5, 6, 7 new options arise. Yeah, that's the power of shifting our energy, and that's something that we will practice here at transCODES in our energy training club with our Connect with Your True Self free energy healing session, and also with the energy training course. The energy course, it's called the 6-week training program, teaching you how to activate, refine, and fine-tune your spiritual senses and organs. It's very educational, it's very systematic. 6 weeks of that, a whole entire online course with educational material, energy sessions, and live webinars. I have a special in September for those of you who've always wanted to participate in that. Most of you here live right now have done the energy course at least once. But there's many people out there who really need to go through this kind of systematic training of their spiritual organs, including learning how to connect with your body better, how to differentiate between sensing, feeling, emoting and thinking and perceiving, how to feel your chakras, how to clear them, how to navigate etheric and astral realms. So this is a very comprehensive course, and I am giving it away this time around for 60% discount. So please check my website for that. Anyway, the courage that we need is the courage to discern and choose the light. All right, it will feel like a constant back and forth. We covered this. And the trick here is to remind ourselves that when we shift our perspective, our perception changes. Okay. Now, some of you who have been studying with me for many years already, you may have noticed that the energy alignment this month is not a new alignment. It is the alignment for December 2020. And that is because this month in particular, so September 2024 in particular, has a lot of very interesting energetic characteristica. Not only do we have a very powerful new moon, we have a very powerful equinox, we have a partial lunar eclipse, and we have the Michaelmas all in 1 month. We also have a time capsule here, which means there is a process that started years back, coming back forward, and it is on us now to review, to reflect, what have we learned, what do we want to do better, how have our intentions been influenced, and as we did last month when we worked with karmic aspects, what do we wish to improve on while we are still alive? Yeah, what can we do for ourselves to become able to make more conscious and more freedom-bringing, more healthy choices? So if you remember December 2020, then you might faintly, have this picture in your head that this was exactly when the COVID vaccines were introduced to the market and sold to us like the idea of the vaccine as the only solution. there is to get through the pandemic. And boy, do we know better now. Okay, so this is returning. This is returning here in September, not this particular subject with vaccines, but this moment of having to make a conscious choice. And no matter what your choice was back then, here now you have an opportunity to make good, if you will, to follow through with your inner truth this time around. If you already did in 2020, then you will find that this is going to be even more reinforced and empowering for you. So this is the reason why I use the alignment from December 2020. But I want you to understand that there is much more to this, because the time capsule, this particular time capsule that we will be dealing with this month, actually started in 2010. This is when most of us had a very strong sort of sudden awakening. This is when spirituality became a thing for you. You may have always had these feelings and these thoughts, but weren't really able to articulate them, or didn't have enough, say, perhaps courage, to out yourself as someone who's interested in these spiritual topics. So there was something that got activated in you in 2010. Anybody remembering this? A whole new way of living. Maybe you made a big move. Maybe you got divorced and started a new relationship. Maybe you quit your job and started to become self-employed or something like that. For most of us, it didn't, play out right away, but it was literally the seed for wanting to live a more spiritual, more conscious life. In 2012 then, and this is really, what in some of my articles I pointed out, it then started for us to kick in form of our energetic sensitivity, in form of us realizing that if we are not following through with our inner truth, if we, try to pretend being somebody that we're not, or trying to conform, or, trying to sort of live this sort of cookie cutter, preconceived idea of self, that we cannot be happy. Now this is sort of when the true self awoke in you. So by the way, 2012 is when I started doing true self sessions. For 12 years I've been doing these Connect with Your True Self sessions every month, because that's when it came in. Now, the first phase of that was the first 3 years was really strong for a lot of you guys. I remember this. Many of you are, have been working with me since this time. And there was really a strong sort of impulse that you could feel, maybe somewhat confusing at the time still, but to become your own true self. And in 2020, we had to make this choice. This is what I pointed out in my predictions, the time of bifurcation, where, you had to make a choice if you wanted to be a conscious self or not. Okay? And we now have a chance to follow through with this. So in 2020, I said, don't worry, you'll have an opportunity to make corrections. You'll have an opportunity to make better choices down the road. And this is now. Okay? So this is a seed that is in us for at least 12 years. Obviously, many of you have started being interested in spirituality way earlier than 2010. But 2010 is when it hit you, and when your energetic sensitivity really became sort of a thing for you, where you could say, oh yeah, I am energetically sensitive. I can feel energies in some way. So this is revisited now, and with that, I also wanted to share the alignment from that December 2020, it was trust. Yeah, and trust forms through becoming trustworthy for ourselves. So how do we become trustworthy for ourselves? Well, first of all, in order to trust ourselves, we need to be willing to uncover our own self-deception, right? This is something that we talk about a lot, making the unconscious conscious. But it goes a step farther. We have to work through our inner child stuff, our parent issues and our karmic issues and our shadow stuff and then we got to realize, how powerful our ego still is, even after we've worked through all these things. And, just like how most of us, in the beginning of our journey, we think, oh, we got this, I know everything. And the more we know that we don't know anything. Okay? And by now, most of you have arrived at this point where you can say clearly, yeah, my ego is pretty powerful, and it can still make me do things that I don't want to do, even though I have better intentions. And that is basically the uncovering of self-deception. So if you think that you can control your ego, good luck. Yeah, but if you've arrived at a point in your life where you say, okay, I have an ego, but I also have a true self. And it really is a day-to-day, moment-to-moment choice. Yeah, I can go for fear and doubt and anger and hatred, or I can go for love and healing, freedom and truth. And that's how you should see it for yourself. There is no, perfect. There is no 100%. Yeah, but by being willing to uncover our self-deception and unconsciousness, if you will, by accepting it, and by also accepting the darkness that can come with that at times, within ourselves, the inner darkness. Yeah. We are healing it. We are learning to out-vibrate it. So as I am doing the readings for you here shortly, I just want to summarize the inner themes that would come up for most of us at different renderings, different variations for each of us. Of course, we all have a different life and we will experience this differently. So refrain from looking at anything as good or bad. Yeah? Just allow it to be part of your learning, refining, purification process. So there's a lot of clearing going on here in September. And it's summarized here as facing your inner dragon. Okay, most of you know what that means. Yeah. This doesn't necessarily mean that you have to go through the dark night of the soul, though it can come to you in this way. And if it does, I want you to know that most of the healing in our life occurs in those states. Okay, so facing our inner dragon, our shadow, our fears, is often perceived as cathartic. Okay? But we have to understand that it is part of, it's like a catalyst for it. Okay? So don't be afraid of facing your inner dragon. Allow yourself to be carried through by your alignment that you carry in your heart, by your love for truth, your love for grace. Trust in yourself. And like we said earlier, discerning truth or discernment, also requires you to prioritize better. Is this worth it? Is this worth my attention? Is this worth my money? Is this worth my energy? Yeah. Knowing your destination means zooming out and seeing the bigger picture so that you don't forget the direction your inner compass is pointing at. Sometimes we can get distracted, okay, and forget the bigger goals. And always aligning and realigning to your higher power. Those are really sort of the core themes here. Yeah, the tips that I have for you is that always allow yourself to slow down, and you'll see this in the readings. This is coming up for many of you. Consciously shifting your perspective. Every time you shift your perspective, every time you allow yourself to see it, whatever it is that you're facing, from a different, especially from a bigger perspective, you are shifting not only your perception but also your energy. And remember, when the quality of your energy shifts, the quality of your energetic reality shifts. And when the quality of your energetic reality shifts, your physical manifestations become more positive or more aligned to you, more cohesive, less schismatic. Yeah. Focus on bringing more freedom and healing into this world. Yeah. Outer themes, they're laid out a little bit in the forecast. I don't want to go too much into it because it's pretty much the same as we've dealt with in August. Still, the big earthquake is expected. We had a volcano eruption in Iceland again, as I predicted. And just so you guys know, this is very, very interesting. I just saw a statistic that every time a certain level of magnitude in an earthquake occurs, I think it's 4.5 or 4.6 or whatever. And so a certain intensity of earthquake, the planet Earth starts to spin a little faster. I find that fascinating. I'm going to have to do a little bit of research on this because this is something that we all are experiencing, that things are going faster, and energetically I can see it, but I never linked it also with the physical manifestations of it. So yeah, continued earthquakes and hurricanes, guys. So hurricanes are very similar to earthquakes. It's just the air that is moving. And the earthquakes is the magma that is moving. Erratic behaviors. So be patient with your loved ones and the people that you work with. There will be lots of irrational decisions coming from people, and you will literally feel like they're losing their minds, depending on sort of what aspects and dragons they have to face, because the ego goes to lengths not to face something. So just keep that in mind when people that you thought you know really well, when they do things or say things that are really out of character, just give them 24 hours and they'll come back to you and say, hey, I was not at my best yesterday. Sorry for what I said. And if it's you who has these little slips into, full-blown irrationality, then do the same thing. Go back, make good. It's part of September energies right now. The bigger theme here is the war against all against all. This is going to continue until 2027. If you want to know more about this, look at my predictions for this time until 2027 and beyond until 2030. All right, so here we are, embracing inner conflicts and needing to focus on shifting our energetic reality. So as I am talking to you now, and as I'm doing your readings, I'll probably use these slides here, the Hawkins's map of consciousness, to illustrate some of these shifts that are needed sometimes. Okay. Right here for the physical, we need to make sure that Our skeletal system, stays aligned. Maybe go to a chiropractor if we have neck issues. So there's also, the Atlas region where the masculine feminine imbalances play out. Okay, throat is the front part of that. That has to do with our expression, where it can get imbalanced. Maybe where we say mean things that we didn't really mean that much, or like I mentioned earlier, these erratic kind of irrational decisions, or where we're just not sort of showing up in our best. We need to keep that in balance. If we can't keep it in balance, what will get a little bit of a foothold in us is the anxiousness, mostly through our bodies, through our nervous system. So it's very good to know how to ground, how to center. You guys all know that. But also, to give ourselves a break, to give ourselves rest, to make sure that all sort of toxic thoughts, substances, foods, notions, energies can get cleared out properly. So if one or the other of you guys experiences sort of really sort of stagnant kind of feelings, then maybe do a 3-day light fast. Let your lymphatic, your renal, and your urinary system flush things out. Drink lots of water, and sort of give yourself a little bit of a boost through your physical. So we have to really balance on all levels. So the sort of energetic analysis here of September energies on the different levels of our energy body, the physical, the emotional, mental, spiritual, and energetic, is something like that. So in the physical, our physical has a really hard time this month with catching up with the speed, with the elevation of like how fast energies move. So we have to kind of give it a little bit of space, because whenever molecules speed up, that's the same with energies, they expand. And that's actually a positive process, but in the physical, they often can't go anywhere if we're too rigid. Okay, so they turn into stiffness or rigidity, or just sort of residues of toxins. So we really want to make sure that we support our physical body, our physical energies this month through the things mentioned earlier, maybe even fasting, but mostly just drinking lots of water, doing emotional clearing, spiritual clearing. So all kinds of clearing stuff, anything that supports our renal and urinary system, our digestive system, but especially our nervous system. So sleeping or napping, meditating, as always, they really help to balance our physical life force. Emotionally, the energies of September can come in or play out as sort of hopelessness or despair, or maybe even sort of sadness, like a grieving of good old days or something like that. So here we need to be careful not to get pulled into this too much, because it's not true. It's just like how our neurotransmitters respond when something that we invested in, something that we did sort of prioritize or whatever, put into the forefront, when that falls off, and in this case, especially when we allow the clearing to happen, those are good things that are being cleared out right now, that are being completed, that are being finished off, that we need to let go of, that can create a temporary void in us, a temporary vacuum and we're a little vulnerable there. Most of us don't have enough practice in our emotional set of vocabulary to differentiate between sadness and just sort of a generalized sort of heaviness coming in, that is temporary, that just needs to be allowed. Yeah, so we don't need to overinterpret that. So just be aware of that energy is actually really there. So if you feel pulled into that, know that that's part of the energetic weather condition. It's nothing personal, really. Mentally, it's really about persistence this month, and I've mentioned terms such as efficiency and diligence, and really being very conscientious with everything that we do. If we are able to discern that this is really what we want to do, it's worth it, it's yes, we want to go for it, then don't get distracted. Just keep your focus and be persistent. It's going to pay out for you. It's going to, you're going to get the reward. And as a matter of fact, some of you will probably already begin to see sort of the fruits of your labor. You will be able to sort of see how far you've already come. Yeah, persistence is a very cool spiritual trait, guys. Yeah, that's why all these Shaolin monks and, all these sort of spiritual traditions, these ancient spiritual traditions all have this like sort of super disciplined, these super disciplined practices in there, because, it really is something that, you set in motion. You bring, your dreams, your desires, and your that which you stand for, your values, your integrity, your worth, and so forth, into this physical reality through persistence, through diligence, through precision as well. Yeah. But then again, things also just have a certain timeline. They have a certain season. They have a certain rhythm. So in September, you're not going to sort of feel that you've reached the goal line yet, but it'll be very, very close. So you can already see it on the horizon. If you have days where you can't see the light at the end of the tunnel, remind yourself that just because you can't see the light doesn't mean the sun isn't there. So keep, an eye on the prize, basically, remind yourself that it's okay to have a little bit of an sort of back and forth or doubt from time to time. Those are welcome opportunities to refine, to review things and learn from the past. Yeah. So, but stay persistent. This trust in your self, this trust in that good things have their own timeline. They have their own timing. Is very important in September, because it can at times be so erratic that you cannot really see this anymore. Just wait for 24 hours and you'll see it again, because it's literally sort of like a pendulum that swings from one pole to the other, between those luciferic and harmonic, energies that are basically, battling over our attention. The trick to be, or to stay as unaffected as you can, is obviously to stand in the middle. And that is your sacred heart. That is your true self, that is, the center of your center, where you connect with your soul self, with your higher self, and no matter what is going on around you, you know who you are and you know what you stand for. So that's then energetically sort of the challenge in September, namely to remind ourselves of that and to shift the perspective no matter how things appear. Yeah, especially though if they appear as hopeless or super black and white, either or oh, the best, oh, the worst, like that. Know that you're off center. Yeah, when you see things in this way, and remind yourself to shift your perspective into a more neutral. Neutral doesn't mean heartless or loveless or emotionless. That neutral means with no investment, with no, sympathy or antipathy. You just like say, okay, this is what I'm facing right now. Let me feel how I stand with it. Let me see, if this is even worth it, if this is even something that I want to do. Yeah, this kind of review, and then, take action accordingly. Yeah, so the pendulum is exhausting only if we don't really know who we are. Yeah, if it's something that we have been avoiding to look at, or sort of have a hard time with. You will not get away with stuff this month without looking at your own inner darkness, your own shadow. This is the sort of the big it's like the key, really, to accept darkness within you, no matter what form it takes on, and to understand that it is there to teach you, how not to do things. Yeah, and in that you can sort of shift your perspective and shift your attitude toward these darker sides of yourself, and say to yourself, okay, through this dark aspect of me, I've learned what I am not, and I'm grateful for that. Here, our chakra system and how it gets triggered or how it gets activated. So overall, there's a big activation in September, and you can see there's a huge big red area that's a first chakra, a root chakra. And how can it play out on all the other chakras? Well, that's because when it gets activated in this way, it can overshadow everything else. So that's where we need to go look into the unconscious, go look into the physical, look into the karmic, look into, what is left over of our inner child, what is left over of our disdain to the other gender, what is left over of our distrust toward others, and, all these sort of core trust issues that we have. Yeah, so that can have an impact on the entirety of your being in September if you cannot stay in balance. However, though, we have an almost equally powerful crown chakra activation, first and seventh, that helps us with this, with the resolution of darkness, with the neutralization, if you will, or with the bigger picture perspective, so that we can see, this isn't just me, this confrontation with untruth, this confrontation with, unfreedom and unlove, as I always call this, the sort of this trifold nature of darkness, how it comes into our life, how it works through us, to teach us what we need to see, what we need to heal, what we need to expand on, what we need to work on. So we have a bit of extremes here, and these extremes will work on us. That's why, I used the pendulum as an imagery here. And what can we learn through this? Trust in ourselves. Yes, we can deal with things as they arise. No, we're not going to waste our time with emotionalizing, futurizing, or mentalizing what ifs. Okay, that's a waste of energy. Believe in yourself. Believe in, your true self, sending you the right messages, giving you the right guidance, providing you with the sight that is needed to reveal whatever needs to be healed at a given time. Yeah, trust in the timeline of things. And also know the power of your will. I mean, you are a conscious being. You have a soul self. You are aware of your soul self. And you're going to have to put this into action. You're going to have to start showing up as that. And that's the will, not the raw willpower that the ego can hijack, but the willpower that comes out of your conscious self. I will this. So it's really good month to make improvements, to establish new routines, and to really step into self-mastery. The aspect here with, in our fourth chakra is coming, that came in last month already, and it will continue to be there, is the self-love and self-care. This has to do with what I said earlier about, slow down, take good care of your physical, allow your physical to catch up, take naps if you need them. You'll feel this. You'll feel that, when your energies are stagnant, that you feel grumpier, you feel less energetic, you feel, much more moody, and when your energies are, cleared and fresh, then everything flows much more easily. So self-care is not selfishness, guys. But if it's all, about you, and you don't recognize that other people also have needs, then obviously you're moving back into pendulum territory, yeah, and power struggles and so forth. Really, what it's all about is to step into authenticity, and not just sort of a psychological authenticity, but really a spiritual authenticity, where you can feel this, with the totality of your energy body, that this is right, this is true, this is good. Okay, yeah. So that then allows you to shift your perspective and consequently your perception whenever you get pulled into an imbalance, because you keep the eye on the prize. You know what your true power is. You know what your true purpose is. You just sometimes get pulled away from it, or stray away from it, just to the lava around you. So yeah, in that, September is almost a bit complicated month, because we have to deal with all these different backs and forths. Okay, and always remember, you're not the only one on this planet that is exposed to these energy conditions, to these weather conditions. Others are as well. And interestingly, when it comes to energetic weather conditions, this actually happens all over the planet at the same time. It's very cool for me to see this, because I have clients from all over the world, and they literally describe and report about the same things at the same time. So this does not necessarily have anything to do with your physical location. Here, just a brief overview of our important dates. In September, we have a very strong new moon that asks us to realign, and that is basically the whole pendulum speech is about that we'll have to continue doing this all months. But it already comes in with this, strong new moon energies at the beginning of the month. And, we need to learn how to turn pessimism and hopelessness, into just a temporary state. We become a little more neutral and say, oh, okay, I'm getting pulled into this right now. All right, let me not latch on to this. Let me not identify with this. Let me just sort of, breathe through it, do what I need right now, apply my powers, and, whether it's creativity, or whether it's helping a friend, or, whatever it is that is like magic for you. Walk your dog, or spend some time in nature. to come back to realign. Yeah, that's what you will need throughout the entire month of September. It's a very good month for establishing new routines if you have addictions, or if you are in a toxic relationship, or if you are still working the job that is on your nerves. It's a good month to change that, even if you don't have anything new lined up yet. Yeah, that's the courage. You have to recognize that you taking care of your own energy, you making sure that you're not ingesting things that are non-conducive for you, is not selfish. It's not egoic to do that. It is something that has a very great spiritual significance when you do that consciously. Okay, don't wait till you can't stand it or hold it anymore and then explode. Try to do this in a more conscious manner. Where you realize, this is a bad deal. Okay, I get paid a lot of money, but I'm sacrificing all my social life. Just as an example. Okay, so I'm going to have to realign my life, either by announcing a few changes to your schedule or whatever. Sometimes that can already fix it all, or by changing jobs, relationships, and so forth, or moving away. So new routines is not always just the daily stuff, but it's also sort of the bigger stuff, because it really wants to be concluded now. We really got to get this. We got to drive this home now. Yeah, that if we are exposing ourselves to negative, pessimistic, or dark energies, it's gonna rub off. Okay, so we're gonna have to be careful with that. There is a little bit of a positive week here in the middle of the month, right before it gets really bad. But there's a beautiful impulse for growth and expansion. And, mark my words there earlier when I said, that your physical has to kind of catch up. It's often too much for it. So it's not just your physical. Sometimes also your astral body gets a little stretchy. And that's when you feel like sort of a little bit out of it, a little bit trancy, maybe a little bit sort of lofty. Okay, you really need to pull back in, slow down, and go inward then, and don't allow yourself to get lost outside of yourself. Yeah? Don't get pulled into something outside of yourself. Yeah, and then right around the full moon, guys, but tricky there. We have the sort of beginning of the lunar of the eclipse season here with the lunar eclipse, a partial lunar eclipse, a darkening of the light. Okay, so as we are nearing the equinox and Mikael time, we are basically seeing sort of both ends of the battle in heaven. Okay, we're seeing the darkening of the light right before the equinox, and then the sort of more light coming back in right after the equinox. Very interesting for those of us who have clairvoyance. You can see this. It's very cool. So there's no reason to panic. This is something that happens every year around this time. It's just that, particularly here in 2024, it's really important for us to recognize what these powers are and what their characteristics are and how they work through us. So right at the equinox, a few days after the full moon, and I'm giving you time frames here because it's never like on the day, but it's September 21st to 23rd. You'll get an impulse. You'll get sort of an alarm clock that goes on in you, and it says, overcome your fears now, or overcome whatever it is, the lazy butt in yourself. Okay, it's time. now. Okay? If you follow that impulse, everything will fall in place and it will be easy. You'll have that sort of spiritual support. If you resist it, then you will still feel a lot of pressure, and that builds up. So the time between the 23rd and 25th, and then a little bit continuing for a few days, you'll feel a lot of pressure. It's going to be a rough time for energetically sensitives. I can already tell you that. Yeah, so that week, I'd say, of the 21st or 26th, 27th, that's a rough time for energetically sensitives. You need to slow down. You need to ground, okay, and be a very good energy manager. Yeah, like be efficient. Don't get yourself pulled into other people's problems. Don't get pulled into the news, into the drama of stuff. There's going to be a lot of drama around this time. And it's very erratic, and it's almost like people losing their heads. This would then, also begin to play out in our relationships. Yeah, remember the bigger picture is the war of all against all. So whenever you feel that there's sort of a wedge between you and other people that, your loved ones, people that you normally connect with very well, pay attention, guys, because that's often, spiritual energy that is sort of working through both of you, or, can be in groups as well. So beware of irrational choices to the end of the month. That will all resolve itself literally overnight by September 30th. But until then, prepare for really erratic things happening, and your job is to stay constructive. If people say mean things to you, hurt your feelings or whatever, give that a little bit of breathing room. Allow them to correct themselves. Don't jump on everything. Don't go into fighting or anything. It's not a good time. There's no winning. There's no winning. Everybody will lose. So just sort of, take a breather, relax yourself, let the other relax, and allow this to naturally reconcile. Okay? So it isn't literally until the last 2 days of the month, last 3 days, I would say, around the Michaelmas, that you will feel this really big surge of courage in you. And all of a sudden things will clear up. So don't worry about this. You can listen to the energy alignment now, which is attuned to these energies here in September. Enjoy this and let me know how your month is going. Send in some feedback, comment here in the comment section, and subscribe to my channel if you haven't done so. There's a lot of these workshops on my YouTube channel, over 800 lectures and workshop recordings.
Energetic alignment for the courage to choose the light, to the love, truth, and peace within. I dedicate myself. I am one with my true self, the part in me that is unchanging, eternal, and infinite. I embrace change as evolutionary path of my being and trust in my true self to guide me to unfold my highest potential and truth in life. By being aware of the conscious soul self I am, I choose to follow the impulse for freedom and deep healing, so that I can neutralize all external influences that do not serve my highest good. I can feel and sense that I have all I need to be my higher self in me already. I am truth. And with this awareness, I can accept all limitations as learning experiences. And no matter how big the challenge, feel nothing but gratitude for any opportunity to heal and grow. Yes, I am willing to embrace my responsibility as co-creator of my reality. I choose to let go of identifying with my survival fears and the illusions of lack and that I am not enough. Conscious or unconscious, I am the way. Therefore, choosing the light is the path of least resistance and peace. I dedicate my energy only to what strengthens my inner power, while being open for new perspectives and solutions that are in alignment with my higher goals, even if they challenge my ego at first. I am aware of the importance of making this a conscious choice, as I understand that only I have the authority to choose whom I want to experience this life as. I am the light. Through the power in my heart, I hear with clear all attachments, limitations, conditioning, mind control, energetic ties, and karmic binds in any dimension or time to any person, entity, or ego illusion. Nothing and no one has the right to violate my integrity or authenticity. I trust in my ability to sense anything or anyone compromising my trust in myself and to manifest my highest potential. Just because I can't see a better future right now doesn't mean there is none. I know that there always is a higher vibratory solution as soon as I can change my perspective. I love who I am. True self. Thank you for my energetic sensitivity. It shows me when I need to stand my ground and when I need to let go. For my critical thinking and insight, for it shows me when I need to self-correct and when I need to shift. And for the love in my heart, as it reminds me of the sacredness of my light and gives me the courage to choose that I am. Allow me to grow beyond what my ego cannot see and guide me to be open for approaching approaching my journey with the consciousness of my united heart and mind. Now I can rest in my heart, as all there's left to do is to live and create my life in the light